Welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute devotional podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse. Broadcast from the ever-beautiful Sharonville, Ohio, on the sunny side of Cincinnati.
Hey there, friends. Welcome back to Daily Dose Radio. We're looking at Psalm 76 this week, today, verses 4 and 5. 4 and 5 really present us with a very interesting question. Let me read those verses for you. Verse 4, Thou art more glorious and excellent than the mountains of prey. The stout-hearted are spoiled, they have slept their sleep, and none of the men of might have found their hands. Now, if we're going to maintain our idea that this is Baal Perazim, after David has established Jerusalem as his capital, the Philistines come up to challenge him, and the Lord gives him an overwhelming victory over their forces. This is the beginning of the end for the Philistines, here at the walls of Jerusalem. And you'll notice that in verse 3 it says, There he brake the arrows of the bow, the shield, the sword, and the battle, Selah. Thou art more glorious and excellent. Who's the thou in verse 4? Well, the thou in verse 4 is the he in verse 3, which is God in verse 1. God is known, his name is great, his tabernacle in Salem, his dwelling place in Zion. Then break he the arrows of the bow. So the thou there, we're talking about God. When David looked across that field of battle and he saw the victory, was that all he saw? Was he grateful for the victory? Now things were set right. Now his kingdom was established. Now the Philistines will think again before they come and challenge him. You think maybe that's what he was thinking? Or was he thinking, how great is the Lord? You know, sometimes we kind of get into this groove of making God our genie. You know, we have an idea and we have a plan. The way we present the plan and the idea to the Lord is, this is the most important thing in the world and you have to support it. But as soon as the plan comes to fruition, as soon as it's done and everything has been gained and the victory's been had, well, do we return and thank him? And do we say to him, you're more important to me than all of my victories? You're more glorious and excellent than all the advancement that I have. You're more glorious and excellent than anything I have. You see, this really strikes at the root of our own ambition and pride, doesn't it? Thou art more glorious and excellent than the mountains of prey. But I want to win. I want to be victorious. I want to be the guy who is on top all the time. But really, who is on top all the time? The Lord is. He's glorious and excellent. Whether we win or not, that statement in verse 4 never changes. You are more glorious and excellent than the mountains of prey. Never changes, whether we're victorious or whether we lose. God is still glorious and excellent. And we shouldn't place ourselves in that cycle of weal and woe. If we're not winning, well, then things are horrible. And when we are winning, things are great and wonderful. You know, let's get somewhere in the middle and say, Father, no matter whether I win or whether I lose, you're glorious and excellent because you're you. And your being glorious and excellent does not depend on me and my victory. The stout-hearted are spoiled. They've slept their sleep. None of the men of might have found their hands. Of course they didn't. Why? Because God gave the victory. That doesn't describe God as glorious and excellent. He's more glorious and excellent than any victory he ever gave David, or that he will ever give any one of us. This is our God, more glorious and excellent. And we should praise him that way, whether we win or whether we lose, whether we're advanced or whether we fall behind. We must remember that God is great in Israel. Well, join me again tomorrow. We'll look at verses 6 and 7 on Daily Dose Radio.
Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. I'm David Smith. The music today has been performed by the Bluegrass Experiment. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time on Daily Dose Radio.